Hello everyone, my name is Chloe. My roots are in Virginia, in one of those quiet towns where streets shaded by mature trees wind past rows of unassuming houses. Childhood, for the most part, unfolded under the gentle watch of my parents, my mother. She was sunlight personified, her smile greeting me at dawn as she hummed over breakfast preparations and tucking me in with the same warmth at dusk. In our small, perpetually comforting kitchen, she balanced my father, a man of quiet strength, shouldering immense responsibility with few words, working tirelessly to provide. Our house was modest, simple even, but overflowing with a love so palpable it felt like the very air we breathed. Everything felt perfect, seamless, or perhaps that was just the illusion childhood affords. Then, at 15, the foundation of my world simply crumbled. My mother was stolen from us by an illness so swift, so unexpected. I barely registered its arrival before confronting its devastating departure. The vibrant warmth of our home bled out, replaced by a chilling emptiness. I watched my father navigate the hollow spaces, a solitary figure adrift in a house that once resonated with laughter. We existed together, shadows in the familiar rooms, but the tapestry of our family felt irrevocably torn. School mornings blurred into quiet evenings. The kitchen routines persisted. The simple meals remained, but her absence was a gaping wound at the table set for two. The silence between my father and me stretched wider than the physical space separating us. When I turned 18, he remarried. It landed like a quiet shockwave, even though a part of me understood his need for companionship, for happiness reborn. His new wife, my stepmother, radiated kindness, a gentle presence attempting to mend the frayed edges of our lives. She brought with her a son, Ethan, just a year my junior. Suddenly, my orbit tilted again. Life felt rearranged. Unfamiliar, this quiet boy, Ethan, became my stepbrother. Initially, navigating this new dynamic felt like walking on eggshells. He hadn't done anything overt, yet an awkwardness permeated our interactions. He was quiet, observant, seemingly wrestling with his own adjustment to this blended reality. Much like me, evenings found us assembled in the living room, my father and stepmother murmuring about their day, their future, while Ethan and I occupied the periphery, exchanging hesitant glances heavy with unspoken confusion, forcing me to drop my gaze first. Family dinners became proving grounds for connection. Strangely, it was often Ethan who'd subtly pass me a dish or refill my glass. Small gestures that resonated disproportionately in the quiet landscape of our new normal. He remained reserved, a boy of few words, but sometimes his gaze would linger a fraction of a second too long. Perhaps was I imagining it, reading too much into the simple affection of a new brother yet? An undeniable current flowed beneath the surface, a tension neither of us dared to name. Feelings that should have remained purely fraternal began to tangle, morphing into something complex, forbidden. There were fleeting moments, brushing past each other in the hallway, sitting side by side on the sofa, where the proximity sent an unwelcome jolt through me. I hated the sensation, hated that my perception of him was shifting, coloring outside the acceptable lines of brotherhood. One night, the soft padding of footsteps in the hall announced his familiar presence outside my door. Ethan often slipped in for brief, whispered conversations before retreating to his own room. but this time felt different. He lingered in the doorway, his silhouette framed by the dim hallway light. He didn't speak immediately, his eyes searching mine across the shadows, conveying a weight, a question I couldn't decipher but felt deep in my bones. How should I respond? The air crackled, thick with unspoken energy. The silence stretched, taut as a bowstring, before rational thought could intervene. Before I could erect the necessary barriers, I gave a slight, almost imperceptible nod, an invitation to stay. We sat there in the shared darkness, two strangers bound by circumstance, now impossibly, dangerously close. Truthfully, I found Ethan attractive, strikingly so. Guilt pricked at me. He was my brother, albeit by law, not blood, but logic, the insidious logic born of proximity and shared space. Pushed those thoughts aside. We slept in separate rooms. Yes, but adjacent, on the second floor, while my parents occupied the master suite below, an arrangement ripe for complications. We were both navigating crucial thresholds. A freshman tentatively stepping into college life. He, a high school senior drowning in exam prep. Life's rhythm was shifting for both of us, yet the undercurrent between us only intensified. On quiet evenings, homework abandoned, we'd find ourselves drawn to the living room sofa, the flickering TV screen casting shifting shadows on our faces, the silence between us more resonant than any dialogue. The feelings were undeniable now, amorphous, refusing categorization as simple sibling affection. I liked him, genuinely, deeply, in a way that terrified and confused me. My heart's frantic rhythm whenever he entered a room became a traitorous confirmation. It was on one such deceptively peaceful evening that the unspoken reached its breaking point. My parents had departed on a 5-day trip, leaving Ethan and me the sole occupants of the quiet house, an unexpected pocket of freedom. Initially, it felt like a chance to simply exhale, free from adult scrutiny. That night, we ended up in the living room again, a mediocre romance flickering on the screen, chosen merely to fill the silence. I'd brought out snacks, chips, some soda. We chatted, laughed easily at first, the sound echoing strangely in the empty house. Then it happened on screen, a passionate embrace, raw and intense. The air shifted instantly. Our laughter died. The comfortable space between us suddenly felt charged, vibrating with unspoken electricity. I felt his eyes on me, a physical heat spreading through my limbs. I gripped my soda can, knuckles white, trying to anchor myself, and then, without warning, without preamble, Ethan moved. His arms were around me, strong, decisive, pulling me close. His kiss wasn't tentative, it was urgent, demanding, as if months, years of suppressed tension had finally erupted. My mind screamed resistance, trapped in turmoil, but my body betrayed me, responding with an instinct older than reason. The line, fragile, essential between siblings had been crossed, obliterated. That night wasn't just another evening, it was a fissure, splitting my life into before and after. Throughout that night, and the subsequent days of our parents' absence, Ethan and I were inseparable. Boundaries dissolved, words became superfluous, instinct took over. Fueled by everything held back for so long, the carefully maintained distance evaporated, replaced by an intimacy that was both terrifying and intoxicatingly real. I remember the next morning with piercing clarity, sunlight filtering through the blinds, striping the familiar walls of my bedroom. illuminating the boy sleeping beside me. Nothing in the room had changed, yet everything within me felt irrevocably altered. We exchanged few words, but our glances held volumes, a shared understanding, a shared secret. Our lives were now tethered by this transgression. The remaining days of freedom were lived in a stolen bubble. Awkwardness vanished, replaced by a complicated, consuming comfort. We existed like a young couple, hiding in plain sight. Meals becoming intimate affairs. Nights spent talking, watching movies, inevitably ending tangled together in my bed. I consciously pushed reality away, ignoring the labels, stepbrother, stepsister, allowing myself to drown in the illusion of carefree love. Then, inevitably, the day of their return arrived. The moment my parents walked through the door, the bubble burst, reality crashed back in instantly. We snapped back into our designated roles, Chloe the older sister, Ethan the younger brother. The intense intimacy of the past 5 days evaporated, hidden behind polite smiles and casual sibling interactions. We pretended nothing had happened, that those stolen moments were merely a fever dream. My parents, oblivious, chatted about their trip, while Ethan and I exchanged fleeting, secret glances, silent acknowledgements of the dangerous secret now binding us. In the months that followed, the clandestine affair continued. We became masters of stolen moments, whispers in darkened hallways, brief touches disguised as accidents. Those nights when my parents retired early or went out became our sanctuary. Ethan slipping into my room, holding each other as if erasing the forbidden space between us. By day, the performance continued flawlessly. Family meals, casual conversations, no one suspected, but the constant vigilance, the hidden tension, left me perpetually breathless, walking a tightrope of deceit. Guilt gnawed at me, a persistent ache beneath the surface, yet the intoxicating pull of our secret world was too strong to resist. I felt trapped, fearing exposure, fearing the consequences, yet unable to sever the tie, knowing the risks. I started taking birth control pills in secret, a desperate attempt to control at least one potential disaster, hiding the evidence as carefully as I hid my heart. About a year later, the inevitable arrived in a different form. Ethan graduated high school. He moved away, heading to a new city, a new life at college. His departure felt like a physical severing, even though I hadn't wanted to acknowledge it. I knew the distance would fundamentally change things. No more stolen nights, no more charged silences across the dinner table. The sheer geography forced a halt, a pause button pressed on our intense, hidden world. A wave of nostalgia, bittersweet and aching, often washed over me in his absence. After my own graduation, I sought refuge in routine, in building a life separate from the tangled emotions of my past. I found a predictable office job at a digital company, nothing glamorous, but it offered stability, a much-needed anchor. And then I met him, the man who would become my husband, my future. He owned a successful hair salon, a man radiating a calm confidence and an easy charm that immediately drew me in. There was a grounded strength about him, a kindness in his eyes that felt like coming home after a long storm. He was everything Ethan wasn't, everything I hadn't known I desperately needed. Every shared story, every gentle glance, chipped away at my defenses, making me feel safe, truly safe, for the first time in years. Love blossomed quickly, effortlessly, like it was always meant to be. Before I knew it, we were married, stepping into the quiet rhythm of the family life I had always craved. Now we have a child, a beautiful extension of our love, and my life feels blessedly whole, complete in a way I never thought possible these days, filled with the warmth of my husband and the laughter of our child. Often push the painful echoes of the past into the shadows. But sometimes, in quiet moments, the ghosts resurface, the memory of Ethan, of those stolen days wrapped in secrecy and intense emotion, lingers at the edges of my mind, refusing to be fully exorcised. Have I truly moved on? Can I ever? I have this beautiful family, this man who loves me unconditionally, this life I must protect. Yet, the guilt towards my husband is a heavy cloak I wear constantly. He is goodness personified, showering me with genuine care, unwavering affection. But looking into his trusting eyes feels like a betrayal every single day. He deserves the whole truth, the whole me, not this fractured version hiding a secret chapter. The question haunts my waking hours and steals my sleep. Should I tell him? Should I confess the truth about Ethan? About the girl I used to be? The fear paralyzes me. If I speak those words, will he ever look at me the same way? Could the foundation of our life, this precious family I cherish more than anything, withstand the blast? Could it all crumble to dust? But the alternative, silence, feels like its own slow poison. Living with this secret, this hidden weight, makes me feel fundamentally unworthy of his immense love. I stand perpetually at a crossroads, paralyzed by indecision. Maybe you'll judge me harshly, hearing my story, tallying the pain caused, the destructive choices made. I understand, but I have to ask, if you were standing in my shoes, facing this impossible choice, what would you do? Would you risk shattering everything for the sake of honesty, or would you bury the past deeper still, choosing silence to protect the present, praying the ghosts never claw their way back to harm the ones you love? I desperately need guidance. Confess and face the fallout, or keep the secret locked away forever. Any advice, any perspective, even criticism, I welcome it, because truly, I am lost.